Hello traders, investors, and entrepreneurs. Welcome back to another live trading video. My name is Nick. I talk all about trading and investing here on my channel. And today we're going to be talking about this Aussie New Zealand trade that I'm currently in. And unfortunately, this is completely my bad. I forgot, or at least I lost the file for the first initial take on this video. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm actually going to pull up the community or the A1 trading community here and show you guys the trade just so you guys get caught up to speed. So initially I sent this out a few days ago, actually 3 days. So this is 3 days into the current trade. I sent out a market buy position here on Aussie New Zealand, looking to buy the break of this nice upward trending market here on Aussie New Zealand. We saw resistance and I wanted to get long. So again, I initially filmed this, but lost the file. So that's very sad, but it is what it is. And I'll catch you guys up to speed. So nice little uptrend there, seeing those higher lows, seeing a lot of buy pressure. And I wanted to be long on the break. I put a stop underneath structure. And now I shared all the details here in the group, that sort of thing, and the reasoning behind the trade. I'm taking a long position as price continues to show buying strength here. Notice the higher lows on the upward bound trend line and price showing strength as it breaks through the recent high, taking a small position, basically just kind of looking for that continuation. By the way, as we get into this video, before we get too far, if you are interested in joining this community, we have chat rooms and all sorts of good stuff available to our members. You get access to my trades as well as some of our other traders sharing analysis inside the group. We have a couple different paid analysts. So without that further ado, let's see. Here we are currently on the trade as of now. You can actually see that this upward trending market did play out. So our analysis worked out very, very nicely, even if it took a little extra time. And I really wanted to make sure I got this trade filmed purely because of how kind of cool it can be sometimes. So when you trade with the trend, right? When you trade with the trend on some of these moves, the trend can actually be pretty forgiving in terms of your entries. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you trade with the trend, when the dominant market energy is up, it's a good chance that the trend will continue and you'll see, that if you're in a healthy trend, you'll see that continuation. And even if you're not perfect about your entries, sometimes that trend will really carry you anyways. And that's exactly what's happened in this trade and why I definitely wanted to make sure I filmed it. So as we look here, you can see on the daily chart, we've got a lot of uptrend strength here, a lot of beautiful, beautiful continuation there. We really broke through this significant high point that we had marked and now seeing some potential more upside here going into this trade as we watch it here on the chart. So I wanted to talk about the fact that, okay, well, when you're with the trend, some of the cool things about being with the trend is that it can be very forgiving. So even if you are in a trade and you didn't get the best entry, right? If you had bought here, if you didn't get stopped out, the trend is pretty forgiving in the sense that overall it's still moving up. And so if you don't get stopped out, as long as your stops are decent, you can catch some of the big moves in the market just riding the trend, which is really, really cool and something that I personally love about the strategy that I'm trading here. But basically, let's fast forward back to where we're at currently. So if we look at the 1 hour chart, I think that gives us the best view for this, this setup. Basically, we've got this trade which broke out of that consolidation area, right? So we were seeing price tighten up. We had a stop underneath structure somewhere. I think it was under here initially. And then as price jumped, we did get this interesting spike, which was it was cool to watch, but then it came right back and I was like, well, that was a weird move. But anyways, we saw the price continue to move higher. And at a certain point here, right around when we hit somewhere around a 2-to-1 on this trade, or maybe at least like a 1.5 reward times our risk, right? When we were moving up, we moved stops to break even just around here. So my stop must have been just around here, just by visualization. Just because usually what I do is I wait for the trade to move 1R, meaning when it moves 1 times my risk in distance, I'll usually move that stop to around break even. So I've locked in the trade here at that stop right above break even. So I am long, right? And so the trade, if it comes down, I'll just take a break even trade on this. But I wanted to, again, cover this one specifically because I like this concept of riding that trend, letting it do its thing, and sometimes it can be very forgiving because you can see that my entry initially here, I think right around here, was not the best entry in the world, right? We definitely saw a lot of choppiness. We didn't see much trend direction initially, but that overall trend did come into play and it was pretty forgiving. So now we see price moving in my favor. Hopefully we see it continue. We've had some really, really great trades this week inside of the group, which is always good to see. So we'll see if our good fortune can continue. But just riding this one out, and I will come back to you guys with an update whenever the next move happens, and I'll give you guys my take on what to do next. Hey traders, so a little update here on AUD NZD price, still moving in my favor nicely here. You can actually see at this point I've moved where I was break even. I've actually moved my stop up into profit here very nicely, moving in our favor. So after this big spike, we've seen a little bit of consolidation, and just now I went ahead and moved stops just up a bit more. So if I actually go here, I'm gonna show you guys what made me think of this area. So you can actually see that we've got this supportive structure here. So technically I could have put my stop underneath here, but just as we are nearing the end of the week, I wanted to go ahead and lock in a little bit more. So you can actually see I put stops just underneath this structure point here. So if price decides to come down, I've locked in 40 pips here on the move. So if we were to get a pullback there and just to stop out of this trade, we would cut it at a 40 pip profit here on this position here on AUD NZD. Again, another trade moving very nicely in our favor. So we'll see if this one wants to keep rolling. If it does, and Friday is bullish for AUD NZD, I will probably hold this one over the weekend. If not, I will probably just close out this trade and let it just be done, purely because I would rather not hold this trade over the weekend. But if it's still bullish and still has that strength to it, then I will hold it over the weekend and let it do its thing. It is Thursday today, so again, we've locked in 40 pips. We'll see what this one wants to do for the rest of the week, and I will keep you guys updated. Hey traders, I just moved up my stop here on AUD NZD a little bit further, locking in a total here of 87 pips here of profit. Now, what I've done here is I've trailed this stop now just using structure. So last we had just put a stop loss underneath here, but price did explode higher and then continue higher today. And here in the office, as I've been looking at it, I've decided to move my stop above this structure point here, where we recently saw buyers basically kind of consolidating and then also push off. So I'm interested in holding on to this long position as long as it wants to continue to run. And so things are looking pretty good here, but I've gone ahead and moved my stop a little bit closer, locking in a little bit more profit here on the trade. So again, you'll notice that price has consolidated around this level here, but found strong support off of it. And so I've gone ahead and locked in that profit. Again, about 57 pips from our initial trade. Things are still running very nicely on this trade. And if it pulls back, I'd like to just get out of the trade. But if it keeps going, I'll naturally just continue to trail it and see what happens with it. So stay tuned. We'll be back with an update soon. Okay, traders, so it is the following Monday here, and I am back in the office taking a look at my position here on AUD NZD. You can actually see that over the weekend, once things started to open back up here on Sunday/Monday, we saw this thing really keep going, which is always nice to see, especially when you're just kind of trailing your stop and you're just saying, you know what, as much as this thing wants to run, I'm going to let it run. Now, if you remember, our buy entry is all the way back here. It seems really far away now, which is actually a nice thing when you're trailing your stop. And then I've actually just gone ahead and moved my stop this morning up to this point here. So currently I've locked in plus 105 pips here on the trade. So at the worst case, it's going to come down and stop me out for a 105 pip gain, which to me is really, really good, especially on a slower pair like AUD NZD, which tends to move not as heavily as some of the other currency pairs that are out there. So this morning, again, as I came into the office today, I took a look at this position again. Noticed that there was this structure point here, so we shot up overnight, and then on the kind of retest here, we found support right around this area here. So at this point, this morning, I've basically moved my stop just underneath that structure. I'm using structure at this point to trail me out of this trade. So as long as price wants to keep making higher highs, higher lows, I'm gonna hold on to this trade. The simple component of this strategy is that I tend to end up holding on to strength on the long side and holding on to weakness on the short side to let them run for as much as they possibly can. Now, the best scenario would be if we were to be able to break through convincingly this previous topping point. If we were to see that break, I think it opens up more upside, which is always nice, especially again when you're just trailing the stop and letting it run. So again, I've got my stop trailed in here at 105 pips locked in. I've shared this trade with the VIP members inside of the A1 trading community. By the way, link down below in the description if you want to trade with us. I always get the question, so I always make sure to share that. So with that said, on AUD NZD, from here, it's just a waiting game. It's just letting it trail and seeing how long it lets it run. So we'll see how it goes, and I'll keep you guys updated. Okay, so here on AUD NZD, we've actually seen this thing continue to run in my favor. The last time we talked about it, we had profits locked in right around here with the stop loss being about 105 pips. Well, price overnight has moved again in our favor here, and from there, I've moved up just about 40 more pips. Currently locked in at a plus 145 pip gain here with my trailing stop. You can see it just listed there, but basically what I did was I identified that, okay, we had this level here, which was a major resistance point for price. We did break above it. We retested it this morning and saw some initial bullish spike, but if we don't hold that bullish, if we don't continue to make those higher highs and to continue to break higher, then I'm going to go ahead and just stop out of this trade. Again, I'm up 145 pips if price decides to trail me out. I'm very happy with how this trade has gone, and if it keeps going, then by all means we will continue to do what we do best, which is just trail that stop in and let it run. Or if it stops me out, then I'll take my profit on this trade and I'll look for something else to potentially enter or wait until I see another setup. But the cool thing here is that this trade has just run and run and run and run, and this is the best kind of feeling in my opinion for trades, is when you are just absolutely just carefree about them. They've gone far in your direction and you're just letting them do their thing. If they keep doing it, you let them keep doing it, and if they don't, they don't, and you move on. And so it's a good place to be. I've had a lot of good winners lately. I don't expect this win rate to be forever, but for now we're locking in 145 pips. We'll see if we get stopped out today. We look pretty close to it, and you know, based on the price action, we have come pretty close to it a couple times here. We did bounce off this supportive level nicely, but we're not seeing a ton of follow through just yet, so very possible that we could just stop out here this morning and get trailed out for that 145 pip profit here on AUD NZD. So either ways, I will keep you guys updated. Okay, traders, so I am officially out of the AUD NZD trade. Very happy with how this trade played out. Again, I just trailed my stop. You saw it just maybe an hour ago. I put my stop here, and then we actually just dropped really quickly the next few bars down to this point. We did end up getting trailed out of our stop loss, which was just underneath this structural point. No big deal. I'm happy with how the trade turned out. Even if it keeps going, then that's okay. I'll look for a chance to potentially re-enter or even take another trade on something else, but we'll see. But in the end, I want to talk about this trade because I thought it was really, really cool. I thought that there were some cool lessons that we could talk about and learn from as an audience or as just traders in general. So the trade kept going in my favor, and there's this little voice in my head every time a trade really runs in your favor. You may be able to relate to it, but I definitely do. There's this little voice that says, oh, just take the profit, secure the bag while it's there, and don't lose the chance to, right? And I think that voice can get us in trouble because it happens to all of us, and it's really tempting, right? Just to take that profit. Had I taken the profit early on this one, I may have missed out on a substantial number of pips that this runner wanted to give us. You can actually see, if we zoom out on the 1 hour, look at how long this uptrend was in play. We caught that move really well, and we were able to catch most of that move purely because of the fact that we were trailing that stop in and letting it run as much as it wanted to do. So if we didn't catch the absolute perfect pinpoint top of this trend, I'm not worried about it because we caught most of it. And that's the value to me of using a trailing stop. It allows us to catch as much as the market wants to give us in terms of a trend. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like down below. Make sure to subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. I appreciate you watching. Make sure to comment if you have thoughts or opinions about this trade. Is there something you think I could have done better, or is there something that you learned? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back in the next video.